All this for a hole in a bumper. The background is, my friend ran into a trash can, and she didn't want her dad to find out, so she called me. Well, we didn't know when her dad was to come home, so we grabbed tape, paint, and cardboard. So when we get it taped and patched, her dad pulled down the street and she tells me to run. Well, she had my keys, and I couldn't get away as Tom, whatchamacallhim, pulls up and asks, "What you doing here, lad?" I calmly said, trying to think of an excuse. "Is Dee here?" "Yes, follow me." "So what brings you to my daughter?" And I reply, trying to get my project from her, and this is where she told me to find her. I was so scared he was gonna beat me up, and Dee goes along with my story, and he pulls me into the garage and is convinced that the other reason that I'm there is because I have a crush on her, which can't be farther from the truth. He tells me it not good to waste my time for disposable girls like that and uses me out of the garage while I look at the bumper that looks 100% normal while still not having my keys. I got them back 10 min later when she threw them back at me to try to get me out ASAP, and I did. My 29F boyfriend, 25 Huanes, admitted that he forced himself on a woman several years ago. 1st September 2020. I'm going to preface this post with a disclaimer. It contains rape. If you find it distressing to read about this kind of topic, I urge you to stop reading now. I have been with my boyfriend Jason for a year now. Jason is the first boyfriend I've had who puts real effort into truly listening to and understanding me. He can listen quietly as I describe a list of events from start to finish, while he only backchannels and then in the end expresses nothing but sympathy or helpful commentary. When I am facing a tough decision, he asks helpful questions which help guide me in the right direction. When I'm in trouble, without a second of thought, he is the first person I call. He is a dream come true. My parents love him. My sisters love him. My friends love him. The only person who ever disliked him was a male friend of mine, completely platonic, who said he gave him the creeps. I have since fallen out with this male friend for tangentially related reasons. Also, he was kind of a gigantic dickhead, so I don't think he had any sixth sense. He just never had a nice thing to say about anyone but himself. Anyway, 2 nights ago, Jason and I were discussing our first real crushes. It was an innocent enough topic as being completely devoted to each other. We have grown well past any jealousy issues in our relationship. I went first, talking about a boy I knew in college who ultimately broke my heart. When it was Jason's turn, I realized it wasn't a silly rom-com like mine. It was a fucking horror story. He called it a dumb misunderstanding. He described stealing a pair of her underwear. He called it a drunken mistake. He described pushing up against her and touching her butt without her consent at a party. He called it one stupid night. She was completely drunk in her bed. He climbed in. He took off her clothes. She was half asleep. He inserted himself inside of her. The way he tells it, it wasn't even sex. It was one person acting on a victim. His retelling of the events ends with her crying and kicking him out, never to talk again. I know he truly regrets it because by the end of his story, he was full-on sobbing. He didn't deny a thing and said that yes, he had raped her, which led to him wanting to improve himself and learn how to respect women. He saw my reaction and asked if I thought he was a monster. I told him I needed space and left. I didn't even pack anything. My sister picked me up and drove me to Rite Aid where I bought toiletries. My life has been torn apart because no matter how much I think it over, I have no desire to talk to him. Hearing his voice would probably give me a panic attack. In a true Jason fashion, he has given me all the space I need, not contacting me once. I've never been in a situation like this. The person I would normally turn to when my life was on the ropes just admitted he did something which, if convicted, would get him put in prison for several years. I can't talk to my sisters or family because if I do that, they'll probably never let me within a mile of him again. Sorry. I think I'm just rambling now. I'm desperate for any ideas on how to proceed or even if my relationship can proceed at this point. Update, 12th September 2020. Hello again, everybody. It has now almost been 2 weeks since my boyfriend admitted he committed one of the most despicable acts possible against another human being. TW, rape, sexual assault, and sexual violence. If these topics hurt you in any way, please stop reading now. The whole situation still feels surreal. I have gone from being angry at him to being angry at myself. I have written long texts to him and then deleted them completely. I have gone through stages of denial where I thought that Jason, being such a good guy, may not have actually done anything wrong. Maybe a woman gaslighted him into feeling that he had committed a crime when she consented at the time. Then I realized that everyone who commented on my last post hit the nail squarely on the head. He didn't go to the police to turn himself in for what he did. If he truly felt remorse, that is what he would have done. His charm and natural understanding of women's problems were complete ruses. Many people with sociopathic tendencies are great with people. Most of all, he gets to cry and move on with his life. He gets to love another woman again. His victim? I can't even fathom what she's going through. I finally called him 2 nights ago. He wanted to talk about how we could mend our relationship. But after 2 weeks of not hearing his voice and being scared of how I may run back to him, it hit me like a truck. I don't love him anymore. I told him that I wanted him to vacate his apartment for 3 hours while I gathered my belongings. He said he would do so. I ended the call by telling him that if he felt any remorse, he would go to the police and accept all charges for what he did, not contest them in court, and take his punishment. He started talking about how that wouldn't bring justice to his victim. Then he said that he loved me. Twisted fuck. I showed up the next morning at the decided time with my sister. He was nowhere to be seen. I'm confident he won't contact me again. Thank you all so much for helping me through this. I'm going to find a therapist as soon as possible. TLDR. My rapist boyfriend won't turn himself in, and I broke up with him. I safely gathered my belongings, and now I'm living with my sister. Am I the butt face for not letting my boyfriend be the hero while we were getting mugged at knife point? My boyfriend is a big hero fanatic, and does everything in his power to be like one. It's really endearing, and it's one of the many things I love about him, because he wants to be the good he wishes to see in the world. But this mindset he has is why we are fighting right now. We've been quarantining at my apartment. He's not on the lease. And he suggested we go on a night walk since we've been getting stir-crazy from being inside all day. He figured that it'd be better for social distancing to go out at night. I was hesitant because we live in a bad neighborhood, but he assured me he'd protect me. On our walk, we were cornered by a man with a knife that demanded our wallets. I remembered John Mulaney's Street Smarts bit from the Netflix show and was going to throw my wallet past the mugger so we could run away. But my boyfriend started arguing with him and was spouting off a bunch of stuff about justice and how the mugger wouldn't get away with this. It looked like he was getting ready to fight. I was taken aback by this, and I guess the mugger was too, because it gave me enough time to take the important stuff out of my wallet while he was distracted. I interrupted my boyfriend's monologue and said, "Take it, just don't hurt us," and threw it behind the guy. When he turned, I grabbed my boyfriend's hand and we booked it back to the apartment. We got home safely, and I was relieved that we were okay, but my boyfriend was fuming. He was pissed that I interrupted him from protecting me when he could have, in his words, clearly handled it himself. I told him he could have gotten himself killed. He said that he was obviously stronger than the mugger and would have won. I explained to him that the guy had a weapon and my boyfriend didn't, so the odds were stacked against him. Not only that, but I didn't want my boyfriend to get killed over a damn wallet. We argued for longer than necessary, so I shut it down and told him we could talk about it when our adrenaline wasn't so high, but I needed to file a police report while the event was fresh. He stomped off to our room while I called the cops. When I was off the phone, I went to lay with him, but he rolled away from me. The next day, he was still angry, and had already told his friends and family about what had happened to us. I thought that they would be understanding about how I handled it, but they were mad at me for not letting him have his opportunity to be a hero. His mom even ridiculed me for emasculating him. I want to reopen the conversation so we can understand each other and move past it, but if he isn't receptive, I'm going to ask him to move back in with his mom. I want to understand where I went wrong if I went wrong, but honestly, I feel like he's being childish and unreasonable. I just want to know A at B, or is he? TLDR. Boyfriend tried to play hero when we got mugged at knife point. I managed to get us away safely. He's mad that I ruined his chance. Verdict, NTBF. Update. AITB for not letting my boyfriend be the hero while we were getting mugged at knife point. Update. 16 May 2020. So, he called me last night and I answered. He asked if I was okay and how I was doing. Then he asked if he could come over and I said he could. I planned on bringing everything up again myself because he had been very passive-aggressive and refusing to talk about it. But when he showed up, he immediately started apologizing. Everything you guys pointed out, he started agreeing with. He was saying that he was being delusional, unrealistic. The whole hero fantasy isn't healthy, he jeopardized my safety and that wasn't okay, etc. I wasn't prepared for this behavior, especially compared to how he'd been acting all week. We talked for hours before we went to bed together, and everything seemed like it worked out fine. I was really on the verge of ending things, so it was a relief I didn't have to in that moment. Then this morning came and shit hit the fan. In my comment update on the last post, I mentioned that a friend was trying to mediate. I texted that friend that things worked out, and they said something along the lines of, "I'm so glad you were able to apologize." Some people mentioned that maybe he told a different story, which isn't something I looked into, but I decided to ask, and whoo boy, I'm glad I did. Firstly, he told everyone that the night walk was my idea. Then, apparently, we were never mugged. Nope. Apparently I just started talking shit to a stranger on the street in an attempt to make him show he was a strong man and protect me. And the only reason we were able to get away was because he de-escalated the situation, and that it was emasculating because he was put in a position where he felt like he was forced to fight for my honor. Are you fucking kidding me? To make a long story short, he tried to play dumb and backpedal this morning when I confronted him about it. And then when I pressed him to be honest, he snapped again and said, "What was I supposed to say?" The whole situation was embarrassing, and it was going to make me look bad. We argued again for a bit, but I was just done. I told him to go and that it wasn't going to work. He didn't have much stuff, so it was easy to put in a spare grocery bag and just toss at him while he angrily left. He's currently outside of my complex waiting for mommy to pick him up. As far as I'm concerned, I dodged a bullet. Fuck his friends, fuck his mom, and fuck him. Thank you for opening my eyes, Reddit. TLDR. He came back ready to talk. It seemed like everything worked out fine and he was understanding. Turns out he lied to everybody about what happened and got mad when I confronted him. I kicked him out. Tifu by letting an exotic, venomous insect loose in my house. I'll gather round friends and prepare to shit your pants as much as I have done for the past 2 hours in the AM, tearing my room upside down in the dark, trying not to awaken my parents. Most people are surprised to hear when I tell them that I, a small-statured 22-year-old woman that works at Starbucks, have 24 pet tarantulas and a pet scorpion, as well as breed giant exotic moths as a hobby. The usual reactions are either fascination or more commonly abject horror and disgust. Water off my back, I love my fluffy 8-legged puppies, and I'm very meticulous about keeping them well. I started my arachnid fondness a few years ago when I was living with my ex. When that withered up and I had to go back to live with my parents, you can imagine their abject horror and disgust when they learned that their house would now be shared by 25 arachnids. The rule was, you can keep them, but if they ever escape, they all have to go. Psh, no worries. I've never had an escapee in the past 3 years, and I'm always careful. Right? Today, that all changed. I don't know how. I truly don't. I'm racking my memory trying to figure out how I forgot, but I threw a couple mealworms in my scorpion's tank earlier as he was pacing, which he usually does when he wants food. I just forgot to put the lid back on. This has never happened, and I'm still questioning my sanity. Well, this happened at roughly 5 p.m., and it wasn't until midnight when I decided to go to bed did I glance over at his tank and saw the lid. Gone. Cue my heart dropping to my fucking toes. He was already gone. I knew it before I even checked his hiding places. So now I'm freaking out. My door has been open sporadically throughout the day. For context, his tank is kept on a shelf above my bed. He was not on the shelf, meaning that he would have fallen off the shelf, and most likely right onto my fluffy pink pillows. I turned over my mattress, checked under my bed, checked under anything on my floor, checked behind furniture against the walls, checked under furniture against the walls, stripped the duvet and pillowcases off my bed. I'm checking in my drawers that are closed that he couldn't possibly get into. Nothing. I don't have a UV light. I'm on Amazon at 1 a.m. ordering a UV light with premium next-day delivery. I'm putting out a damp towel, a water dish, and some live food on my floor hoping to attract him. Nothing. My parents are asleep. I can't search any rooms outside my room. If they find out, all my beloved pets will be taken away. I'm panicking and crying as my spiderless future flashes before my eyes. I'm trying to remain calm, but as the minutes tick by and I still can't find him, I'm losing hope. Oh, I also have to be up in 4 hours to go to work tomorrow. Eventually, I'm about to give up and accept my fate. I'm having visions of going to work, my parents waking up and finding him as they go to put on their shoes in the morning, and getting screaming angry phone calls at work. I'm exhausted, and I don't know what else I can do. In one last effort, I search my pillowcases again, check my duvet, and then I run my hand along the sides of my mattress where the edge of the sheet is, and I grab something hard and wiggling and very unhappy that I just grabbed his tail. He was tucked up under my sheet, right where my head would have been, had I gone through with giving up and going to bed. I wasn't even mad that he was in my bed, just the wave of relief that hit me when I found him alive and okay, that I wouldn't have to say goodbye to my pets, or have my parents hate me forever. He's back in his tank now, lid safely secured. I double-checked this time.